Greetings all, this is the One Nerd, and I want to welcome you to another super happy fun time edition of the One Nerd Reviews. I like to think that this channel has been, pretty positive in the last few months. We learned that the Star Wars Holiday Special wasn't exactly as bad as people made it seem. We uncovered a hopefully soon-to-be cult classic film about a woman dating a robot dinosaur, and even did an unboxing video of a pretty awesome comic. But today I'm going back to what most people want to see out of any YouTube channel. Utterly destroying a movie that everyone else has already talked about and forgotten about by now.
At Caslin, we believe that happiness is about more than entertainment. It's about being known, understood, loved. Introducing your new best friend.
People, let me tell you about my best friend.
Chucky?
That's right. Today we're going to be looking at the most recent remake in the Child's Play series. The movie franchise about a killer who puts his soul into the body of a doll to save himself from death, and somehow the remake ends up changing that entirely to try to make it more realistic, and yet still somehow turns out dumber than the original premise. Our film opens with a promo for this movie's version of Apple, called Caslin Core. The video advertises Caslin Core's newest product.
Introducing your new best friend, Buddy.
Hey, buddy. Let's watch some TV.
Okay.
Wait. Stop. Just stop.
Buddy can connect to and control all of your Caslin products and smart home devices.
Okay, stop. Seriously, stop. Okay, this might seem like a weird place to just bring everything to a halt. I mean, barely 1 minute into the movie. But I seriously need to lay some groundwork here for the uninformed. The original Child's Play opens with Charles Lee Ray, serial killer, on the run from the cops. Lee is already shot up bad and bleeding out. In a desperate attempt to avoid the cops and save his life, he grabs the nearest thing to him, a good guy doll, and uses the voodoo magic that he apparently knows to transfer his soul into the doll. Now you may be asking yourself, why are you bothering to bring this up now? Well, even fans of the original Child's Play, like myself, can admit that the origins of Chucky are a little goofy. But compared to this movie, baby, this makes the original Child's Play look like Citizen Kane. So let's get the main point out of the way. Look at this fucking thing. It's about the creepiest thing you can imagine, and for some reason, in this universe, not Apple decided to make it not only the face of the company, but for some reason a remote that controls all other Caslin products. The best part is, the movie never explains why a company that has a clear theme and even a color scheme would choose to make anything look like this. Is the design maybe based on the CEO's kid? Maybe he dies tragically in some sort of accident, and this is the CEO's way of sort of Astro Boying his son back to life in the form of this doll. Probably not, because that all sounds like 100 times better than what we're getting in this movie. And even if you suspend your disbelief enough to accept that for some reason your remote control is wearing suspenders, why the hell does its face look like that? I mean, I know why it looks like that, because the makers of this movie thinks it looks creepy. But just take a look at the original Chucky. Before it shows its true colors, Chucky and the rest of the good guy dolls looked cute. They looked like a real doll that you would buy for your kid, but I wouldn't let this thing near my kids. Hell, I barely want to keep looking at it, and I still have a whole movie to watch. Okay, gotta calm down a little bit. There's still a lot of movie left. Let's try to move on.
Ensure that your children will always be safe.
Cut to. I'm serious, that's the actual cut. This is seriously like baby's first horror movie. There are a lot of signs going through this, and I'll point them out when they go forward, that this might be a secret horror comedy or parody of horror movies or what have you. But that could also just be an excuse to excuse this movie for being just terrible and on the nose with everything. So here we are in Vietnam, where we see a Caslin factory assembling buddy dolls. We see one worker in particular working when... Some dude, probably a supervisor, freaking slaps him in the face and berates him over something or other. You know, the conditions at those Amazon warehouses really are just abysmal. I can actually see why the employees won't shut the hell up about it. Finally snapping, the worker decides to make some change to the programming of a certain buddy doll. Stop, for God's sake, what the hell is that? First off, why on God's green earth does a toy, have the capacity for violence of any kind? Why is that a safeguard that's even impossible to remove? Like, that shouldn't be a safeguard, that should just be implanted into there that says, hey, don't do that. Let alone something that can be removed by just some random warehouse worker. I mean, have you guys seen Small Soldiers? The setup of this movie is these super sophisticated action figures, who for some reason can be offered in the same store that sells wooden trains, need some kind of chip to make them go. However, they are using secret military chips that for some reason make them psycho killers. Why is this relevant? Because a goofy-ass movie made to sell really awesome toys makes a lot more sense than this crap. You know, I should really add Small Soldiers to my review list at some point. So after this random dude removes all the apparent safeguards on this creepy remote, he does exactly what I want to do instead of continue this movie. That looks so good right now. Someday. We then come to our protagonist of the movie, Andy, and his mom, Karen, played by Aubrey Plaza. You may remember Aubrey Plaza from Parks and Recreation, and nothing else of significance. Karen is a single mom, working double shifts at Not Kmart, to afford to support her son and his hearing aid. Remember the fact that he has a hearing aid because it plays a very small role in the actual movie. A role so small that if it were removed, no one would have noticed. Karen is concerned for Andy because he has not made any friends, and has not attempted to make any after their move. So she threatens to take his phone away if he does not get out and make friends, in the middle of the night, in downtown Chicago. No, Karen, you're doing a great job with the whole mother thing. Top notch. Speaking of Mother of the Year, she wants to get his son a buddy doll for his birthday. In the original movie, the mother bought the doll from a random hobo. In the remake...
What happens to returns like this? Really damaged returns?
Yeah, we send it back to Caslin. Probably toss it, trash compactor, I don't know.
So they won't care if it doesn't make it on the truck, right?
I care.
It'll be our little secret. Just like that time you banged Susan in the warehouse. How's your wife, by the way? Can I have it? Give it to me. Oh, and I'm taking it.
Not even close to how that works, but hey, she gets her comeuppance later on. But we still have a lot of movie to get through before we get to that. Andy comes home to see his mom kissing some random dude. So he decides to just hang out in the hallway while his mom gets some. In the hallway, he meets a friendly stranger who invites him to dinner.
I see you out here, like, a lot. So listen, man, if you want to have some dinner, you're welcome to join us.
And because he's a good-natured black guy, no one is suspicious of this. This dude, however... everyone is suspicious of that guy. To make up for not being able to afford therapy for what he just witnessed, Andy's mom busts out a present for him that turns out to be... Way to go, Karen. You sacrificed your job, your freedom, and frankly, any chance that you had at any kind of advancement at that job for a gift that your son doesn't even care about. Of course, in the original movie, Andy was obsessed with the good guy doll, and wanted it more than anything, which was his mom's motivation for her doing anything that she could to get it for him. In the remake, Andy literally refers to this highly sophisticated piece of robotics and tech as a toy for kids. Andy unboxes Chucky and attempts to set him up.
What's your name?
Andy. Sup?
Hi, Andy Sup.
Never heard that joke before. Very original. See, it's stuff like this that makes me think that this is not an intentional comedy. During the setup, it's clear something is very wrong with this doll.
What's my name?
Han Solo.
Did you say Chucky?
What? No.
Yep, that's how Chucky got his name. Just a lame joke. Almost as epic as how Han Solo got his iconic blaster in the critically underwhelming movie Solo, a Star Wars story. This happens so many times throughout this movie, and it's an issue for a lot of movies nowadays. I don't mind a bit of comedy here and there in movies, even in horror movies, but at a certain point, you're failing to build any kind of real tension in the movie, and it's replaced with some frankly terrible, lazy jokes.
Turn on the TV.
I will do that. What's a TV?
Andy shows Chucky around so that Chucky can learn more about his new buddy.
This is my sketchbook. I do fake buddy cop team-ups sometimes, like Dracula and Robin Hood, or this one's Zorro and Medusa. Kind of a deep cut.
Okay, one, that is not Medusa, okay? That's clearly a Hydra. And second, this is not a deep cut, okay? This is grade school lore / mythology. Oh, I'm sorry, you think I'm nitpicking this movie to find things to find wrong about it? Let's stick around. We still got an hour of movie left. That night, Chucky continues to act creepy and glitchy, and Andy is too busy being the straight man to notice anything is wrong.
Just please close your eyes and pretend to be less creepy.
You're my best friend, Andy.
The next morning, the shtick continues. This might legitimately be the most frustrating scene in the whole movie. Just the complete lack of subtlety, the terrible foreshadowing, just everything. First, there's the obvious BS of this kid just stabbing into the cutting board. I don't care how lax and cool of a mother you are. If your kid stabs a knife into the cutting board, you're smacking him upside the head. And then the Chucky follow-up. Hey, stupid, did you know that doll is a killer? It's gonna kill people? Ha 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 ha! In the original movie, it was all about build-up. We knew something was going on, but we didn't know to what extent until 45 minutes into the movie, where Chucky finally reveals himself.
You stupid bitch! You filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
Say what you will about the original movie. The origins are goofy. Hell, even some of the aspects of it are goofy. The voodoo element makes absolutely no sense. But the build-up to that one moment is damn near perfect. And yes, I am going to be making more comparisons to the original Child's Play movie in this one. Does that seem a little bit unfair? Probably, but I'm not the one who called this movie Child's Play! Everything is going well. Andy is playing this saddest tabletop game imaginable when... While Andy leaves to take care of the scratch, Chucky is gonna put that pussy in its place. Remember, in the context of this movie, this AI is so advanced that it goes straight to killing something when it even slightly harms its best friend. And it's not like the AI program was corrupted or anything like that. The safeguard was just taken off. And this is a program for a toy that kids find lame by the time they're 9. Some may see this as a minor point, but it goes to the world building of the film. The only other thing of the same tech level in the movie is a self-driving car service, only offered by Caslin Corps. In this world where tech like this is commonplace, I could see how someone could get bored of a doll like this. But this thing is a technological marvel. Sure, it looks lame for no reason, but it's still more advanced than anything else that we've seen in this universe. And the best response it gets is... This movie could have honestly had a lot of interesting directions that it could have gone to, even using the original elements that are already here. It could have been a tech whiz and finally sees a friend in Chucky because it's technology that talks back. And he gets excited and bonds with Chucky for that particular reason, forms such a strong bond that he, doesn't see all this stuff happening around him that indicates that Chucky is bad. But as it is now, Andy just finds Chucky creepy. He wants him to go away, he doesn't like him, but over time, he bonds with him just because he's pathetically lonely, even though later on in the movie, he gets friends. I mean, it looks like not that much time has passed. There's a vague reason given for this. His dad left them or died or something, but that's never really addressed in full. Everything about this movie is just so bare bones and lazy, just put in for the sake of moving the story along. Hell, maybe this buddy doll could have been like a one-of-a-kind thing, and it was something that his dad was developing for a company, but after his death, Andy starts to bond with it because it's the only connection that he has to his father left. But it starts to go crazy because it's unfinished, and the twist is that it turns out that Chucky was the one who killed Andy's dad to begin with. See? These are ideas. These are interesting concepts. Pay me, Hollywood! Andy, after just watching this doll choke out his cat, decides to train him to scare off his mom's boyfriend.
And snarl with your lips. But kind of smile. Perfect! Okay, yes, just like that.
So funny and lighthearted. Nothing bad could possibly come from this, and there's no reason that Andy would ever think that it would. While teaching his clearly unstable robo-friend to kill, he meets two other kids from the area. Your standard teen movie stereotypes of the fat kid and the girl that our MC will totally bang at some point. Not on screen, obviously. I mean, this isn't some sort of Netflix drama or something. The three kids bond over the fact that this buddy doll is clearly not right.
You can make him do whatever.
Pretty much.
Say dick cheese. Dick cheese.
Now say Epstein didn't kill himself. That's still funny, right?
Okay, can I just point out that this is how every robot apocalypse scenario begins?
See, it's funny because that's exactly what's going to happen, and yet none of these kids see it coming anyway. Comedy gold. After a bit of shenanigans involving Andy and his new friends, abusing the power of this clearly advanced/flawed being to scare his mom's boyfriend and steal chips, the kids bond in the same way I imagine I would if I had friends, watching horror movies. Seeing his new friends so happy to see people die, Chucky uses what he learns to entertain them.
Whoa.
Wait for it.
That is priceless.
It's on the knife.
And drop it. And it's
Chucky! Stop!
Andy, after seeing Chucky try to choke his cat and stab him and his friends, leaves Chucky alone in his room like a misbehaving child.
I'm sorry, Andy.
Hey, don't blame yourself, Chucky. Everything that's happened and will happen throughout the rest of this movie is all on Andy. Chucky tries to make it up to Andy by insulting his mom's boyfriend.
Such an asshole. Shane's such an asshole. Such an asshole.
You hear that?
Such an asshole. Shane's such an asshole.
Which gets him a one-way ticket to the cabinet. Can't you just turn this thing off? Seriously, how does this thing work? You never see it charge. You could say that it's all done off screen, but even so, this is still some pretty advanced tech. So I wonder, where is it in the rest of the world? My phone can barely maintain a charge for a few hours when I'm just browsing 4chan for hentai, but this thing is doing like 10 or 20 very complicated things all at once. This universe should have these kind of robots everywhere, and flying drones, and possibly flying cars. Why is all this technology being wasted on a toy for babies? I know I mentioned it already, but let's look at Small Soldiers again. The movie also had super advanced toys, but they were one of a kind and still existed in the real world, because they were not supposed to exist. It makes sense that nothing else in that world is advanced. In Child's Play, only these very specific things are advanced. This is a major nitpick, I understand, but for the lore of this movie, this AI, this tech should be everywhere at this point before it reaches the level where it's just a lame remote control that a kid would literally roll his eyes out when getting it as a gift. But no surprise, Chucky breaks out of his cabinet prison. Another nitpick, again, but these are the type of things that just really take me out of the movie. Look at the position of this hole in the glass. Notice how high up it is from the latch. Wouldn't it be easier for Chucky to open this if he broke the glass on the next panel down? The one right next to the latch? I mean, what are we to believe, that this is some sort of, some sort of magic latch or something? Boy, I sure hope somebody got fired for that blunder. Andy finds Chucky next to the corpse of the cat he tried to kill before, and Andy seems surprised by this, like the signs were not all there. Andy covers up the caticide by dumping the body down the garbage chute, and finally starts to suspect something is up with Chucky. Yet continues to do nothing about it. How? First, how did Chucky get up on that shelf? He is so small. And even if he somehow managed to do it, he did it in record time and without making any kind of a noise. I understand that you want your jump scares, alright? I get that. But you just can't make something happen like that just because you want it to. It's your job as the writer, the director, whatever, to make sure that all of this makes sense. And not just say, oh, it's just some dumb horror movie. Nobody's gonna really pay attention to any of this. The original movie about a guy who voodoos himself into a doll at least made sense in its own universe. Pissed at the jump scare and the fact that he is now covered in piss, asshole boyfriend chews out Andy.
You got a problem with me? You say it, okay? No more using your little doll. You be a man and you say it. Come on. Let's hear it.
I mean, it seems like a reasonable reaction to me. I mean, Andy's acting like a little shit. I mean, doesn't his mom deserve something?
He just go away. I just want him gone. I just wish he would leave us alone.
Yeah, never mind. He's dead. We follow the boyfriend home and see that, shock, he is married with children.
Love and marriage.
For some reason, as soon as he gets home, he goes outside to take down the Christmas lights. Just in the middle of the night, and they have a grove of watermelons for some reason. Just bear with me. It does have a purpose. It's a stupid one, but still. For some reason, while taking down the lights in the middle of the night, he decides to wrap the lights around himself, when suddenly... God, this movie is so frustrating in so many ways. You can really tell that it really, really wants to be a dark comedy, but it ends up coming across as bad comedy and piss-poor horror. I've watched this fall so many times and I have no idea how it works. Sure, the dude is up high and falls semi-straight, but it still looks so awkward. I assume this is why there's so many cuts. So after douchebag boyfriend falls and breaks his leg, he yells for help once. But no one can hear him. He notices his phone way over in the field and decides to go for it. Keep in mind, he's closer to his house than he is to his cell phone, and he's holding a flashlight next to a window. Try something, dude! Shine the flashlight into a window. Throw the flashlight at the window. Act like you want to get out of this with some effort. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the reasons why this family has a watermelon orchard for some reason. And that is why he had to wrap Christmas lights around himself for some reason. Because writing horror set pieces is really hard. But hey, at least we can get a pretty damn gruesome kill. Look at that thing, it's gonna tear him up!
This is for Tupac.
I hate this movie so much. Look, I'm not saying that you can't have jokes in your horror movie. You want jokes? Go for it. But not at the expense of the horror, and certainly not just random goofiness. His scalp coming off isn't even set up by anything. It's not established that he's balding, or he has hair plugs, or wears a toupee or something. Nope, his hair just comes off like that for some reason. So random! And that Tupac line was taught to Chucky by a random kid Annie showed Chucky to earlier.
Now say this is for Tupac.
Mark Hamill said this is for Tupac in a horror movie. So random. The cops show up to investigate the gruesome aftermath.
Oh.
Remember, gruesome aftermath. God forbid we see any on-screen violence in this R-rated horror movie. We also see Andy's weird neighbor as a cop. He recognizes the guy as dating Annie's mom and gets suspicious.
White guy dead in a watermelon patch. Poetic.
What the hell was that? What was that the reason that you wrote a watermelon orchard to be in this movie? Just because you could have that dumb line? Meanwhile, back at Andy's. God, I hate that this thing is a comedy, or at least seems to be trying to be a comedy, because it makes it so hard to criticize, because somebody will just say, oh, it doesn't have to make sense, it's a comedy, blah, blah, blah. But now we have to discuss a major issue with this movie. How the fuck did Chucky get back? In the original movie, there was a sequence where Chucky convinces Andy to take him across town to take care of his voodoo practicing associate. But the movie at least showed the process. Was it a little weird to have a kid holding a giant doll to be walking unaccompanied in downtown Chicago? Sure, but this was also Chicago in the 80s, so no one really cared. In the remake, we establish how he gets there. He hitches a ride on the boyfriend's truck. But it is never shown how he gets back. Now, you could make the case that maybe, Chucky hitched a ride back to town, much in the same way that he hitched a ride in order to get to that house in the first place. And I might buy that. If Chucky didn't take that guy's face off.
Like in Face Off?
Wrap it around a watermelon and supposedly carry that back to Andy's apartment. I mean, the walk alone for someone of Chucky's size would have at least taken a day. And you're telling me that nobody would have noticed that, not just on the road, just this thing walking, but also walking up to Andy's apartment and doing all of that. Oh, but wait, right? Oh, this is a comedy. This is a horror comedy. I'm not supposed to think about it too much. I'm thinking too much. It's not supposed to make sense. Andy calls his new friends over to help him hide the evidence, and hilarity ensues.
Oh, is that brain? The skin's on a melon. Why is there a fruit involved?
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Andy. Why are you not in school?
Crazy diarrhea.
Oh!
Hi, Doreen.
Isn't this a surprise?
I know.
This is for you.
Wow.
For all of the homework stuff that you helped him with, right?
Maybe I oversold the hilarity. And like Lenny from Of Mice and Men, or for a more recent reference, that girl from Walking Dead.
You just look at the flowers, Lizzie.
Chucky is tricked and ambushed.
Andy, what's happening? Andy, now! You're trying to hurt me. Andy!
Let me see some strong.
Andy!
I'm sorry, Chucky.
On my body until the end.
Andy! No!
This moment might actually feel a little bit more believable and emotional if they actually showed Andy and Chucky together for more than a minute. At first, he hates or is annoyed by Chucky. Then we get a few second montage of them bonding over scaring people in board games, before immediately watching him strangle his cat. If this kid genuinely has a connection to not just a doll, but a murderous doll, it says a hell of a lot more about him, which is never explored. The kids remove Chucky's battery and dump him into the garbage chute, where he is immediately found by that creepy guy we saw perving on Aubrey Plaza at the start of the movie. To be fair, everybody looked at her like that after the to-do list. The cops show up to inform Annie's mom that her bastard of a boyfriend died, and while she is being interrogated, Annie goes over to one of the cops' apartments for dinner because he knows him, for some reason. Meanwhile, Chucky is brought back to life with a car battery, and witnesses Annie getting a new best friend.
So drive me to bingo, and I don't have to worry about this bullso driving me around.
Yes.
Andy, you're my new best friend.
Andy finds his chance to take back the wrapped head and drop it down the garbage chute as well. Back with Chucky, he gets a little work done to clean him up for resale, including replacing his battery.
Your buddy is now.
Hi!
Now, if you actually look back at the scene where they power down Chucky, you'll notice something. They just take out this little disc thing and then he just shuts off. When the creepy guy replaces the battery that apparently needs to be replaced, he never adds another outer disc and he works fine. Cutscene, or the director just wasn't paying attention. I mean, I could believe either situation, but the latter does seem more likely considering what's happened in everything else in this movie. After recovering, Chucky takes time to get revenge on the creepy guy who repaired him.
I'm sorry,
Who the hell at Caslin thought that it was a good idea for a heater in a residential apartment building to reach degrees of over 200? is actually a pretty good death scene. I mean, it still seems scared for some reason to actually show anything gruesome, but it's trying. Andy, thinking all is well, gets called over to another kid's apartment, who got a buddy out of nowhere. They are all watching it control an RC car it for some reason has the ability to control. These kids are really easy to entertain. I assume that they're all also Teen Titans Go fans. Andy, of course, having just gone through a bad experience with a buddy, is apprehensive. Later on, all the kids go to the same store Andy's mom works at, just as a group, for some reason. Seriously, they cut from them in the kid's apartment to this not Kmart, with nothing in between and no explanation of why they're there together. Totally not Chucky approaches Andy.
You want to play now?
Toad, go away.
That's no way to treat your best friend.
It's at this point that I really want to highlight one of the very few good aspects of this movie, that being Mark Hamill. Hamill was announced to be the voice of Chucky relatively close to the movie's release. I'm not sure if this was because he was a late-minute replacement, or the studio felt that they needed some good press and let everybody know such a beloved actor was in this movie. Mark Hamill has had an amazing career as a voice actor, just recently being announced as the voice of Skeletor in the upcoming He-Man Netflix show. Mark Hamill being the voice of Chucky was one of the things that actually got me really excited about this movie and what drove me to see the movie in its original release in theaters. However, even Mark Hamill's talent can't help this movie. Chucky reveals himself to Andy and starts playing him video of Andy expressing his hatred for his mom's boyfriend.
Stop. Stop the video.
Sit down. Sit down.
I'm not sure if the implication here is that Chucky is trying to expose or frame Andy, or if he's supposed to make Andy feel guilty or anything like that, but it doesn't make sense either way. Andy hated his mom's boyfriend, and he was shown to be a dick. I mentioned before that if the boyfriend was shown to be a well-meaning guy who Andy inadvertently turned Chucky on, it would have given Andy more of a crisis of conscience. The scene where he tries to cover up the videos would have had more urgency. In the real movie, it comes across as Andy not wanting to get caught and blamed for the crime. As if anyone would believe Andy would have anything to do with his death.
Come here! Get the fuck down!
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Andy and Chucky's new owner get into a fight and things get out of hand.
Get off him! Seriously!
This one push causes his new friends to leave him and hang out with the douchebag kid who called his buddy doll Chode. These two, sure, they don't know Andy that well, but they just got over a extreme bonding experience of not only covering up a murder, but also killing a sentient being. But all that is undone by just one little push. This script is garbage. I mean, the girl says that Chucky could be the start of the robo-apocalypse. She's the one who kills Chucky the first time. Yet she immediately turns on Andy when he freaks out over seeing a thing that looks just like the thing that traumatized him a few hours ago. Women. Chucky takes care of another one of Andy's friends.
Passenger airbag has been turned on. Seatbelt disengaged.
Heads up, bitch.
And takes over the Buddy 2 launch at Not Kmart to show Andy once and for all that everyone else will leave him, and Chucky is his only friend.
Lockdown activated.
I'm everywhere, Andy. You can't run away from me now. See? They're all leaving you, but not me.
Remember, I want to make this absolutely clear. All this happened just because the safety locks were taken off. There was nothing corrupted about the data. There's no lightning bolt that shocked something and it went going haywire or what have you. The AI that this company designed is inherently psychotic and has a need to kill, and needed to have safety locks put on it so that it wouldn't. Because whatever. A little before this, Andy is arrested by his cop neighbor as a suspect in the recent murders. This is not a bad plot point, to be honest, but it leads to nothing because at this point we're already reaching endgame. The original movie played with the fact that people were suspecting Andy might have something to do with the murders, but even in the original it felt a little ridiculous. But kids are capable of terrible things. Michael Myers showed us that. But this movie reaches even further to try to get people to believe that Andy could possibly be behind any of this. I mean, the cop in this movie somehow believes that this kid that he barely knows somehow was able to control a smart car and stab his mother. Now, I know that you're thinking that it would be just as ludicrous to think that, oh, this toy was going around killing people. And I could buy that as well if Chucky were just a simple toy. Just think how paranoid people are about tech nowadays. That connects to other stuff even a little bit. This is never even addressed here. I've heard people say that this is a commentary about people's fears of tech. But if that were the case, why is no one scared or paranoid of these things? There's maybe one character you could say is skeptical at first, but she barely follows up on her suspicions. Maybe if the cop were the only one who suspected that the doll might be behind this and everyone else was calling them crazy, I might have bought it. Someone who was skeptical of Buddy from the beginning and was proven right throughout the movie, which would actually play into the ending teaser. Andy's friends come to back him up after finally figuring out something is wrong with the doll that was acting against its programming. But Chucky is on the attack. So apparently either these drones are super dangerous out of the box, or Chucky somehow replaced all of the drone rotor blades with really super sharp blades with no one noticing. Keep in mind that he has another owner now that would probably notice if he went missing. This is another one of those movies that is more concerned about really cool stuff happening and less concerned with if any of it makes sense. Chaos erupts as the store is locked down. The Buddy 2s go nuts and start killing everyone. Apparently Chucky can control all of this or reprogram all the other Buddy dolls. He has to have an incredible amount of processing power to handle all of this. Or he just went around to all of the dolls and removed the safety features on them that are needed to keep these dolls from just straight up killing people whenever. The movie is rushing towards the ending, so even though the Stranger Things gang just formed, they are immediately separated, and Andy goes after Chucky alone, who has his mom held hostage. This ending fight scene is actually pretty entertaining. A good mix of practical and CG effects for Chucky really blend together well. Well, not 100%, but it's better than what you would expect. It kind of seems like this sequence was thought up first and the rest of the movie was written as an excuse to get to this. And at the very end, they finally give Aubrey Plaza's character, whose character in the original movie was actually the main character, something to do.
Don't fuck with my...
So Chucky is finally dead. All the characters who barely did anything in the movie get medical attention. And the kids fully destroy Chucky's body, making sure no one can find out what exactly happened to cause this issue and prevent it from happening again.
A friend. Till the end.
Way to go, you little shits. And that was Child's Play 2019. An absolute waste of a movie. Barely any connection to the original. And a movie that might have had a lot of potential and a lot more freedom to work with if it wasn't shackled to an established franchise. It seems as though this movie did poorly enough that we'll never see another movie in this universe, because it was recently announced that there is going to be a Chucky TV series set in the original universe on Sci-Fi. Which all I can say to that is good fucking riddance. I hope y'all have enjoyed this review. This is one of those reviews that I've wanted to do for a while, and it took a while to come out, and again, I always say that I'm trying to work on stuff, which I am. I'm working on other projects and what have you, and sometimes it feels as though doing these reviews, doesn't matter because it seems like nobody watches them enough, and some other content does a little bit better, but I still want to keep doing this stuff because I like doing reviews like this, and I hope to have, I know I say it every single time, and I know people are sick of hearing it, but I will have lots of other different types of content on this channel at some point once I figure out the best way to do it. Until then, this is the One Nerd, and I hope that you have a great day. And I should say, even though it's far too late and nobody's watching at this point, that if you did like this video, please like it, please subscribe for more content, and hey, why don't leave a comment down below saying, how much you what you thought about the movie, what you agree or disagree with what I have to say, or agree or disagree with me in general. I don't care. It's always nice to have a dialogue. If you want to contact me, my Twitter handle is @the1nerd. That's @the_1_nerd. And if you want to contact me, drop me a line, or maybe you have a writing job available for me or something, you can contact me at contact@the1nerd.com. That's contact@the1nerd.com. And once again, to go over it, because I kind of jumped the gun a little bit before I got everything done, my name's The One Nerd, and that was just my opinion.